Good afternoon, all of you. So, anyways, I think introduction of most of the students is done in the previous one. So there is one student, I think Jaideep, right? You are, if I am not wrong, you are like BTech two. Yeah, like, can you please introduce yourself, Jaideep? Can you hear me? I think you are the one who got converted to the MTech program as well, if I am not wrong. Uh, Jaideep, can you hear me? Okay, maybe we will, yeah, maybe some issue with on his side. Okay, so let me, yeah, yes, Jaydev. If it is
Sure.
fine, you can turn on your camera as well for a moment.
Sir, actually, it's not proper, yes, sir.
No issues, no issues. Yeah, please, you may please introduce yourself.
I'm Jaydeep. I'm a duty-based student at IIT Tirupati. I just committed last year. I'm
Good,
excited to learn the image processing lab.
good, good, good. So yeah, you will be getting both BTech as well as MTech degrees, right, at the end of
Yes,
this
sir.
year.
Yes, sir.
Okay, good, and all the very best.
Thank
And I
you.
hope you would have done the course already, correct? Machine learning in image
Yes, I did
processing,
last to
correct?
last one.
Good, good. That's good. Good to see you here. And yeah, fine. So let me, anyways, the introduction for with other students is done. So let me just share my screen and few details about the lab. Okay. So as you could notice from this name, this is image processing laboratory, kept a little more general than your core course, but nevertheless, there will be a lot of synchronization that would happen between the machine learning course and this image processing laboratory. Title is image processing laboratory, number is 5193. You have one lab session every week on Thursday, 3 to 6, so 3 hours of session each, and that would contribute to 2 credits. So if you count number of sessions available in the current semester, you would notice that you have 14 lab sessions. And again, Sindhura and Vaishnavi will be your TAs for this lab as well, along with the course. And well, this is a tentative, very high level outline of what kind of lab sessions or lab exercises that you could expect out of this lab. The first module of maybe first four, around 3 to 4 lab sheets will be on the basic image processing. For example, you might have, some of you might have already seen the first one, although we put it as lab sheet 1, it is almost like a warm up, but something like basic image processing operations, histogram based pre-processing, spatial filtering, frequency domain filtering. These are the ones related to the basic image processing. Okay, both in spatial domain, frequency domain, and some image enhancements based on histogram. These are the ones that you will be doing to begin with. And after that, you will be doing Bayesian probabilistic, probability based classification related lab exercises and images essentially. So Bayesian classification, then followed by linear classifiers, nonlinear classifiers, clustering. And let's see if time permits something related to convolutional neural networks. Okay. Again, as I was mentioning in the class, there could be some programming assignments that would be coming as a part of your course itself. So we'll see that this would be different from that. And maybe in terms of time required for that will be relatively less here for the lab exercises that we would be giving here. Okay. And at the end of each lab, she at the time of your submission. I think you have all done advanced signal processing lab you are having. So were you submitting a report along with your code there?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay, good. In very similar lines, you would be submitting a brief report that summarizes the results that you are obtaining here. Okay, so that's what you would be doing. And as far as reference books are concerned, all I could do is probably change the order. First thing, first experiments will be about this Gonzalez and Woods digital image processing, and then pattern recognition, as you could see from there. So these two books are good enough. And anyway, created a Google course space, and I would be uploading these videos into YouTube. Okay, and this is the lab grading that to begin with, this is what I have in mind. Lab assignment submissions and reports. So I don't know how many we could manage, but for the list I have kept around 9 there. But let's see how many we would be able to do. As we move on, let's see and recalibrate things. I kept for now 30% weightage for your assignment submissions and the report that you submit along with your code. So as you have followed in the earlier labs, report should not, you should not be copy paste your code. Should not be dumping your code into a report, but rather a summary of the results, what input image, output image, any inferences that you draw from there, or any other key points that you would like to mention based on your inferences that you plan to draw based on the results that you obtain.
Sir,
That's
sir,
the
can you share a sample report, sir?
yeah, I can share, but since you have done it earlier, anyways, we will yeah, that's what I would also take a look into it.
Okay.
See, one thing is all the reservation I have in sharing a report, which I currently do not have, is that from assignment to assignment it could vary because the requirement would be slightly changing. But nevertheless, I would we'll do that. Okay, I'll look into it and please remind me, or at least for every assignment, I'll tell you what should come in the report. That I'll tell
Okay.
you.
Okay, sir.
So second thing is what I plan to do is that we have here in this lab an advantage that you are only 13 students are there. So I could actually interact with you guys one-on-one. That is possible. So what I would like to do is at least in once in 2 weeks or 3 weeks, or module, once some module is completed, whichever comes earlier, mostly I'll have a Viva kind of thing. I'll just ask you some questions. One on one, I'll ask you, while others will be, let's say, in the waiting room. I'll discuss with one-on-one. The purpose is I hope that it might give a better feedback to students also, the way they think, or any missing links in their understanding could be better rather than just giving some questions on like a what for example, these Google all itself, some multiple choice questions I could give and you keep answering. But rather than that, I think we could actually profit from the size of the class being small, which is good. I cannot afford this to do with the conventional course there because 40 students are there. So then interacting one-on-one will be difficult. On the other hand, here you guys are only 13 are there. And I feel that could be more helpful for students than just giving a common question paper and ask you to choose multiple choice, uh, tick A, B, C, or D, or fill in the blanks. So it will be a bit tedious, slightly tedious, because need to interact with 13 students, but it's okay. I will not be doing it every week, but maybe 2 weeks in once in 2 or 3 weeks. That's what I'd like to do. And maybe we'll keep a weightage of 20% there. And final exam and final viva could be for 35%. And this is again because of the strength of the class strength. I did not keep any project or any paper, technical paper presentation again in the course as such. But this is here you may pick over the time. It's not something you have to immediately pick and execute, but this is something, let's work out. For example, you may pick some relevant paper, you implement that, or even you define a problem and implement a code for doing that. So 13 people, 13 projects is manageable. Okay, so each one here will be doing individually some mini projects, and that's what we would evaluate. And maybe we could also help you with in identifying these mini projects, given the size of the class is manageable. So any would you like to share any thoughts on this? What do you think? Any suggestions from your end? Any inputs from your end?
Sir, should mini project strictly be corresponding to image processing, or can we also do with computer vision as well?
Yeah, see, I know computer vision also you can do. That's not a problem. Just ensure that since if any other course like deep learning in computer vision, if some of you are taking, just ensure that it is not the same project you are doing here. Same
Okay.
project you are presenting here. As long as that is satisfied, machine learning, it can be machine learning, it can be deep learning, it can be computer vision, or it can be image processing. We don't follow these demarcations strictly. Okay, you are free to choose.
Okay.
Good. Any other question?
So what are these assignments that you have mentioned here?
Lab assignments is lab sheets is the same. Yeah, I think I could write yeah, they are essentially the lab sheets that I'm giving you. For example, the first one I have given you today, so these are the topics in which I plan to give. So maybe I would club one or two together, maybe histogram and spatial I can club in the long run. Let's see whether it is having good enough material for how many weeks it would require. So those are the, and for which you need to submit your code as well as a report. So that's the lab assignment submission. Lab sheet, those are the code that you are submitting for your lab sheets.
Okay, sir.
Good. By the way, hope every one of you have access to MATLAB. Is there anyone who doesn't have access to MATLAB? I assume every one of you have access to MATLAB. If not, please work out the way from institute that how to get that. Please work it out and get that. And let us do these assignments in MATLAB. Okay. And maybe for the course, I'll discuss later in the course that let's do it in Python so that you will become competent and comfortable in both these, both MATLAB as well as Python. That's the idea. Okay. So let's stick uniformly to one programming language, that will be MATLAB for lab. Hope that is fine for everyone.
So then what would be the timeline for a lab sheet, for one lab sheet?
I'll see. What I will do is I would depending on how much effort that would be required, I would be varying it. For example, whichever I have given today. So after this, after I am done with my whole talking, if you sit, you will be able to do it in 1 hour. That's all it would be required. So what I kept is next Wednesday I gave as the deadline for you. There could be an assignment, let's say frequency domain filtering, you may have to learn something, and maybe that if something would require couple of weeks, I would make it as 2 weeks. It's not like fixed every week, next week you need to submit. It is not that way. It would rather depend on the amount of effort that would be required for completing that assignment. Does that
Okay.
make sense?
Yeah. Okay, sir.
And
And will there be any reducing in marks if submitted late?
yes, yeah. So there won't be any extensions unless some exceptional situation comes. There will not be any exceptions. There will not be any extensions to the last date. So please do take it very seriously. Otherwise, it will slowly become a habit to do a late submission. If there is a late submission, I means right now I'm wishing it's like saying that when there is a red signal, don't cross it. But if you insist on how much penalty should I have to pay if I cross the red line, so maybe you could hold that question. Rather, instead of that question, what I would tell you right now is make sure that you submit it online on time. And there will be for sure some penalty where we see that this is good enough time, and then they should be submitting it. If there is a late submission, that too perhaps not more than a week we would allow. Even after that, after the given deadline, maybe few days, if they are still doing it, that will come with penalty. But after some point, we will stop submissions for that lab sheet. We will move on to the next lab sheet. It's not like you can, with penalty, you can submit anytime. Maybe 3-4 days more with penalty could happen. But right now, I am not even thinking that. I am hopeful that your batch of students, will all of you would be submitting in time. That's my expectation, wish, as well as my expectation.
Okay, sir. And one more question, sir. Can we choose Python, sir? Do you have the privilege to use Python instead of?
No. What is your reason for choosing Python?
Like just to get the knowledge there as well. Anyway,
No,
MATLAB.
that anyway you will get. So is this the MTech student? I could not see that. Who is this?
Yes,
MTech
sir.
student?
Sairam, sir. MTech student.
Sairam. Okay. Yeah. See, what we will do is I'll for sure give you some programming assignments in the MLIT course
Okay.
that you are forced to do in Python there.
Okay, sir.
So you are forced to learn Python there. Here you are forced to learn MATLAB. The objective is simple. You should be familiar. These are such a basic fundamental tools that with both, it is essential that you have good familiarity with both. So that's why we are enforcing one here and the other there.
Okay, sir. Okay, sure.
Does that make sense?
Yes, sir. Yes.
Okay, good. Any other questions or comments or doubts?
Sir, for MATLAB, what are the resources we need to install for this lab?
Right now, I don't think anything. I could not right now. I cannot answer that question. Maybe the later ones, if it would require something, as and when if it is required something, I'll let you know. At this point, I don't think any specialized one would be required. At later point of time, as we move on to those non-linear classifiers, linear classifiers, if something is required at that point of time, I'll let you guys know. But most likely, we'll plan it in such a way that with a basic installation of your MATLAB, you should be able to do it. Anyway, images and all, I think, will come by default. That whatever toolbox for dealing with image processing toolbox will be there for sure, I think, by default. So other than that, I don't think you would require any specialized toolboxes there. So if something is required, I'll let you know at that point. But right now, assume that other than image processing toolbox, nothing else is required. Okay. Yeah. Any other question? Yeah. Maybe if not, many questions are there. Just few more points I want to add. So use your teaching assistant's help very sparingly. What is it that you could definitely ask or seek some help or assistance from teaching assistants is, suppose a question is not clear, you could not manage to get it clarified during our discussion here, but later what exactly needs to be done, there is some doubt, definitely you could ask them. But if your code is not working, it's not like my code is giving an error, I don't know why it is not working, and then that cannot be given or asked. A TA cannot be asked to like debug or let them know why it is not working. Similarly, you cannot ask all my so I'm not getting an expected output out of this, so what's wrong with my code? This cannot be this is an assignment for students and not for teaching assistants. So you should take it and work it out. And at the end of doing all these labs, you should learn the art of localizing and identifying where exactly you have a problem in your code. And then related to that, if there is any conceptually you need a clarity, please do approach them and get it clarified. But other than that, these kind of generic things, I'm not able to run the code, my MATLAB on my system is not working, suddenly it is going out, I'm not getting the output, it is giving some error, all my values are zeros, these kinds of questions, you please try your best to get them sorted out yourself. Okay. And of course, if even after sincere, consistent efforts for a considerable amount of time, if something is not coming, then you could, of course, it is not like if you don't get it, stop it, but use it with discretion. That's all I would say. And one more thing is, rather than, even if you have a questions, one thing I'm having in mind is yeah, rather than approaching any time, because they also have to do their work, this is a kind of, at most they are expected to spend around 8 hours a week, not more than that, as that would otherwise impact even what the work they're doing. So what I'm thinking is, maybe on Tuesday 2 to 3, if I'm not wrong, is another, is also comes under C slot. So I think you have a lab on Monday. Otherwise, Monday is ideal, but I think Monday afternoon you have a lab, right? Communication related lab is there for you guys, correct?
Yes, sir, on Monday.
Right. So anyway, this will be done Thursday. So Friday will be too early for you to even start looking into, sometimes too early. It's good if you finish it on Thursday, but sometimes it is too early. So Saturday, Sunday, weekends, Monday is there. Tuesday is probably a good time. 2 to 3 is, I'll give them the Zoom credentials. I'll share with them. They'll open the, so you all could come there. If you have any questions, please do get them clarified during 2 to 3. Okay. And again, if some question is not clear, if some concept is not clear, you need not hesitate to discuss within your friends also. That is absolutely fine. Just that please do not share one's code with the other, and don't copy the codes. See, hardly to be so if you do sincerely and submit them in time, all would get reasonably good grades, that too, this being a lab course, unless you do not submit things and unless you do not spend time here. So don't get carried away with the fear of what will happen to my grades and all, at least for the lab, and use it as an effective platform to get a good understanding and intuition for image processing, machine learning, and also the programming and the way you present things. So use it as a leverage from this platform, and you should make best out of this lab offered here. Okay. So as I said, don't share codes, but if some concept is not clear to you for whichever we have discussed, maybe in the class, it's a good idea you guys could form informally some group, and 2 3 people can always discuss the concepts, that the thing stops from them, but never share the code as such. That you please don't do it, because you yourself is screwing up your friend, one thing. Second thing, which I wish the situation should not come or won't come, but if in unavoidable situations where I see one code is a replica of the other, again, while you see the code replicas, the tools would look at the memory assigning. It's not like I changed the variable, I wrote some more comments, I added here and there some other variable, or I changed the sequence of assigning variables. But still, despite of doing all this, when you look at the code at a deeper level, if it is copied, it will have the same pattern, and it is very easy to catch that, identify that. If it is identified, okay, then what would happen is, we don't really make a distinction between the one who has originally written the code and shared with his friend versus the one who copied. Both will be equally penalized. They are equal. Both are equal. Okay. I'm sure, and if not sure, at least I strongly wish that such a kind of discussion should never arise, because that would unnecessarily, it is not under fear, or it is not under such uncomfortable conditions that students should be operating. You should, guys would be operating in a very with a free mind. Okay, you should never hesitate to ask me a question, or I should never hesitate to tell you if something is wrong. It's not like I should talk to you with reservations, and whether you feel too sensitive if I make a comment that this is not correct and all. On the other hand, you should also need, you can freely should express if you don't understand something. I'll be happy if you say that the way you explained, I didn't get it. Good. So at least there is a scope for improvement. Similarly, if you haven't done well, I prefer telling you that this is not the way to do it. It's not like I would say it tersely, but nevertheless, I will at least try to make sure that message is conveyed to you. Okay. Similarly, so that environment will be there if you are free of, your mind is free of making any such manipulations and worrying too much about the credits. I'm not saying they doesn't matter, but it's okay. You will get it as a byproduct once you follow this process in a proper systematic way. So don't keep your focus there. Keep your focus to understand things, get a good appreciation for all these algorithms by making use of this. I wish even BTech students should be having a lab, but that is anyways is beyond the scope of the curriculum as such. But since you have it, leverage from it to the extent possible. Same is these comments are equally applicable to your the project I am mentioning here. Okay, mini project. What if I don't get my output? What if my method I have chosen doesn't give me great results? You put your efforts consistently. Let it, if it is a tough problem that you have picked up, despite keeping good efforts, you might not get state of the art results. That's all right. This is a process of learning. You will not be evaluated based on that, but rather we will look at the amount of efforts that you have put in. Any would you like to share any inputs from your end on these, any of these points I mentioned?
Sir, actually, we have class till 2:30 on
Which
Tuesday,
day?
sir.
Tuesday, which class is there? It's in CSLAT, no?
Statistical signal processing.
Okay. You have a statistical signal processing till 2:30, yeah?
Yeah, 1 to 2:30, sir.
I see. Just 1 minute. Give me a minute then. We can work out some other time if that is the case. What did I keep here? Tuesday. Okay. How about 3 to 4? It should be fine for you guys. If you have to till 2:30. 3 to 4, is that fine for MTech guys? For all of you?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
No. So then we will, let's have it at 3 to 4 in that case. So that you will have a small break of 30 minutes also. You, by the time itself, you come up with all the bullet points of what is that, where you seek some clarification. Okay. If it is a mini project, I'll also where as and when necessary and possible, I'll also chip in and give my inputs. It's more of a discussion mode. It can go on as long as the concepts, methods, and all these things are concerned. Okay. Is that fine? Yeah, I made that change. We will have that from 3 to 4. The link will be shared. Because this Zoom ID from which I'm giving these presentations, these classes are going on, that is occupied during 3 to 4 on Tuesday. So I picked up some other Zoom ID. The other Zoom ID for doubts clarification will also be shared with. And one more point I would like to mention is, see, this is a 14 so as per your timetable, there are 14 lab sessions are there. So 14 lab sessions, each lab session is 3 hours. So 15 into 3, 45, 42. So 42 hours of lab you are going to spend for image processing. So just consider it as 40 hours. If you just for a given week, it's only 3 hours. But if you do not go into a lenient mode and just switch to something else, some other work or some other one, if you are not doing it, and if you are focusing, 40 hours of investment on image processing lab would definitely yield you very good results. You will become very, very comfortable with dealing with any image processing tasks. The basic level comfort zone, you would enter that comfort zone. Okay. In addition, anyway, you would be expected that maybe each assignment would require you to spend anywhere around, typically twice whatever is there for a class or a lab is expected that you would be spending that. So 5 to 6 hours a week. If you are spending other than this class, 5 to 6 hours, if you are spending, that should finish your assignments. So what I would say is, irrespective of whether this Zoom class continues from 3 to 6 or not, because physically you sitting in the lab and doing it is one thing. Anyway, now you sit before your laptop or your PC and doing it. That time I don't see I see if you are working and if it's not some doubt clarification, I see it as an obstruction or a deviation from your experiments that you are trying to do or implementation that you are going to do. So we may, after some point, we may stop this Zoom session, but take this seriously. These 3 hours you cannot give to anything else. This is true with other subjects also. I do it in the same way. It's not like I want you to do this for my subject alone, but other subjects and other labs also. If the 3 to 6 Thursday is for image processing only, nothing else, this lab only. And when an assignment is given to you, try to do as much as possible during this time. You work only on this, because anyway, that will also help you outside this time. Maybe then maybe 2-3 hours will be hardly enough, that if you are following the thread properly without any intermittent breaks, you will find that that type of allocation and sticking to the timetable very helpful. So 40 hours, if you really spend on it, I'm sure you'll become very comfortable. Would like to hear some voices from students also, bit more. Sindhura and Vaishnavi, would you like to add any other points that to what all I mentioned?
Yes, sir. Nothing much, but even though this Zoom session, if we end before, before 5 p.m., we'll be online also. They can chat with us through Google Chat or something. So immediately for that day, we will be definitely available till 5.
Good. That's
So they
good.
can
That's
ask some little questions what they have.
right. Good.
Yes,
That is
because
indeed will be very
because last semester lab we were there, but no students were asking. It's like we were
helpful.
just on the call and nothing was happening.
Okay, right. So I think I'm sure both of all the students have their email IDs. So the institute Google chat, you could send if there is any doubt, and then if it requires orally discussing, and then they themselves will call you or Google Meet or something like that. Or Zoom also. I will share my Zoom credentials also with them. And perhaps if a clarification to multiple peoples are required, that can also be done. It's up to you guys. So this slot, I'll share the Zoom credentials will be there with both the TAs, teaching assistants, and they'll, yeah, see, make the best use of it. Don't worry and always get preoccupied with the credits, last dates, deadlines. We will follow it. It's not like we don't follow it, but this is a wonderful opportunity. You leverage from it. That's all is what I primarily would like to like convey across. Yeah. Any other point, Vaishnavi and Sindhura would like to add?
No, sir.
Okay, fine, good. And from student side,
Sir,
yes, sir.
sir, is there any Google Classroom for this lab? Would there be any Google Classroom for this lab?
Already, we already sent you the link also. Did you not receive? Who is this?
Sir, Sriram, sir.
Sent already the invitation.
Yeah, Shriram. Is it not added by any chance? Is your name? Let me check that.
Sriram
You should
Ramesh
have
is
you should have already received that. Just I'm
I
checking
think it
you.
was the for the lecture series, I think, sir.
No, both. You just check your Google Classroom meanwhile. You got registered for both. You should be seeing both already.
Okay, sir, I will check it, sir.
Yeah. You already accepted the invitation. You should be there already. Yes. Any other queries or any other expectations from this lab? What is it that you are expecting? Is that at least at least in line with the vision statement or of the expected outcomes that we were discussing? Okay. So the first assignment sheet has been already shared with you. Very simple thing. If you sit in the next by 6 o'clock, I'm sure you all will finish that. So maybe I will share that also with you guys. Very simple thing. So maybe let's quickly go through that anyway, since there is some time now. Let's quickly go through that as well. You are given a couple of images. Okay. So this is one. This is another pepper image. If you write pepper.png, you'll be getting it in your MATLAB. It's such a standard image like Lena's image. So these are the two images that you are asked to take. And then this ideally should have been a warm-up, but yeah, it's fine. You haven't done much image processing earlier. So I put it as lab sheet 1 itself. Whether you will be able to read the image, display the image, save the image, do some manipulations on the image, whether you will be able to do it or not whether you will do it or not, but give you some hands-on experience in doing these things is the objective of this lab sheet. Okay, first one is you just read, you just see how to see the dimensions of it, display it. That's all. The second one is you have so what is I could not cover in this last class, in today's class, but uh, when you load an image in MATLAB, what is it that you would get? For example, a variable name a equal to load image, you have given the number of it. What is that a will be now? Can you comment about that?
3D array.
Matrix.
3D
That's
matrix.
all. Correct. It is a 2D matrix. It's a function of x comma y. X and y are the indices of the image, or in other words, rows and columns of the image. That is all. And just make a note where the origin of that image is. Just you load it and see the image, you will understand that typically it will be there. The origin will be at left side top corner will be the origin of the image, and x would show you the rows and y would show you the columns. And if you are dealing with MATLAB, if I'm not wrong, the indexing of these rows would start with 1. If you are using uh, proper software, proper programming languages like C, C++, that would start with 0. Here the indexing would start with 1. So you just look at what is the size of that and other things you do. And essentially, whatever you are doing, all these operate. If you can deal with a matrix, you can deal with images. And what about a color image? Can anybody shed light on that? What we mentioned so far is about
Gray image.
is about grayscale image.
Yeah.
What about color image?
It will be like it's a type of 3D matrix.
That's it. It's a 3D matrix. For example, I have an image of size 100 by 100. If it is a color image, it will be 100 by 100 by 3. That means 300 by 100 images are there. Red channel is equivalent to 1 grayscale in principle. G is another grayscale image. B is another grayscale image. Okay, so that's all. So there, these 3 channels will be there, and you would be seeing here manipulation of the color image. So can you interchange, for example, red to green, green to red? How would you do that? If you do that, how does the image would look like? And then maybe you could also average them and create a single grayscale image by for a given row column, all the values you would be adding up or averaging out. That could create you just a single m by n image. If it is m by n by 3 for a color image, you will get m by n image. So that's how you get a grayscale image. Then by the way, what is the typical data type used to store the values of an image? What is the
It should be
typical
integer,
data
sir.
type?
Integer. Is it
No.
integer?
No, I mean it is an integer, but I'm
Unsigned?
a bit more specific, right? Unsigned,
Integer, 8
yeah,
bits.
right. 8-bit is a more appropriate answer, because typically if you are from some using some familiarity with programming languages, when you say unsigned character, that is of 8 bits in a 32-bit machine. And here you typically use 8 bits. For example, whenever you are using this JPEG, PNG, all these things would by default will be using 8 bits. There are other data formats like DICOM, where you, and also in other few other, where you would be using more than 8 bits. So if you are using 8 bits, what is the maximum intensity value that you could represent with 8 bits?
255.
255. See, if you have just a single bit, you can put either 0 or 1. So 1 bit, maximum number of values is 2 power 1. Maximum value is 2 power 1 minus 1. That is 1. You have 2 bits, 0, 0, 0, 1, 1, 0, 1, 1. Right? I'm sure you know this much level of digital systems. So you can represent from, if you have 2 bits, values are 0, 1, 2, 3. 2 power 2 values if there are 2 bits. Okay. Maximum value is 2 power 2 minus 1, because 0 is also there. Okay. So typically all these images, once you load and you see it, the range of values maximum is in between 0 and 255. So while you are saving the image, you should ensure that, and these are integer values. So suppose if you are taking an average of across these channels and creating another grayscale image, maybe they're all having 111 value or 121, assume that. Okay, so then what happened? 1 plus 2, 3 plus 1, 4, 4 by 3. Okay, that's 1.33. You cannot represent 1.33. You cannot save it as an image. If you directly do IM display, it does that rounding and will show you. But while you are saving the image, you finally scale it to typically to 0 to 255 range and round them off to the nearest integer. Okay, this is something you need to take care. Anyway, some of these things I will be discussing in Monday's class also. But I feel that most of these things, since I'm sure you would have done advanced signal analysis lab, you have done in MATLAB itself, correct?
Yes, sir.
Have you done anything on images there, or it's only one-dimensional signals you did it there?
It was only one dimensional, but some worked on in projects, some worked on images as well.
Good, good. Even if you have not done, it is not at all difficult. Huh? It is just matter of spending some time with it, and it is definitely required. Okay, it's not like whether you like programming or not. It has nothing to do with that. That question arises if you are working at the level of what kind of design patterns you need to use, what kind of code optimizations you need to do, what kind of memory allocations you need to do. And at this level, if you are thinking of that level, then only whether you like programming or not, that question would come. Nowadays, I'm sure by this time you would have already realized that any subject, be it civil engineering, mechanical engineering, electrical engineering, anything you want to execute, you have to execute on a computer itself. So basic level programming, everybody has to be very comfortable with. Okay, if not comfortable, don't try to run away from it. Rather, fix the problems. Wherever you feel difficulty, work it out. That's all. Okay, so then replacements of some pixels and then creating a taking, I think you want to replace one row of an image with something else and see how does it look like, and some arithmetic and geometric operations like can you combine two images and all such things were given. So you spend, I think still after this, as I said, stick religiously to this time. Okay, so after that you please sit, you try before you ask, you try to figure out yourself, and don't mind googling and finding out. It's not googling this question. I might have picked parts of it from somewhere because not everything will be there, but anyway, I think this we have given mostly on our own, but doesn't matter. It's not like we don't want you to copy, but it's not like we don't want you to learn from other sources. Okay, you should learn, it is encouraged. So you get some doubt dealing, you find it difficult to deal with these things, if you right away ask your TA, you will get answer only for that. Rather, you take some small tutorial on image processing, you would find out some other step-by-step tutorial in MATLAB for image processing. You take that, you try to repeat that, and then if they are giving some exercises, do it. So your horizons are much broadened at the end of that, because instead of asking that question, you are trying to figure it out yourself or learn it yourself. So do it that way. Okay, and then if something some clarification is required, don't mind asking them. Okay, that is all. There are two images, some basic operations you have to do, that's all. These are like more of a matrix manipulations is all that you will be doing there. Okay, any other questions or comments?
Sir, in question 3, it wasn't meant. Can we take any from any place the small matrix?
Take an inner square of
Yes.
50 by 100 pixel. Inner square is centered.
Okay, center.
Yeah. That's 50 rows by 100 rows, a horizontal image you take. From the inner you take. One row probably cannot come in middle, one row here and there is fine. But it is centered means centered inside. Means around the center of your image you take.
Okay, sir.
Good. Any other question? If not, right then. So you continue on this. I'll stop the recording part also here.